Picture this. It's 3 a.m. and your mind is running a horror movie marathon of everything that could go wrong tomorrow. The presentation that might fail. The conversation that could end badly. The decision you made last week that now seems catastrophically wrong. Your heart races as you replay that awkward moment from 3 years ago. Then fast forwards to imagining your boss's disappointed face, your relationships crumbling, your entire future derailing because of one small misstep. Sound familiar? Welcome to the exhausting world of negative thinking patterns, where our own minds become our harshest critics and most creative catastrophe planners. It's a place where we're simultaneously the prosecutor, judge, and condemned prisoner of our own mental courtroom. Where every shadow becomes a monster, every uncertainty becomes proof of impending doom, and every minor setback becomes evidence that we're fundamentally flawed, destined to fail, and unworthy of happiness. But what if I told you that these very thoughts, the ones keeping you awake at night, the ones that make your stomach churn and your palms sweat, could become doorways to profound inner peace, the architecture of mental suffering? Our minds are incredibly sophisticated prediction machines, fine-tuned by millions of years of evolution. This intricate system was designed to keep us safe, enabling us to anticipate and react to potential threats with remarkable precision. Early humans relied on these abilities to avoid predators, find shelter, and secure food, all of which were essential for survival. This survival mechanism helped our ancestors thrive in a harsh and unpredictable environment, where even the slightest lapse in attention could mean the difference between life and death. However, in today's modern world, the same system that once ensured our survival has become maladaptive. While the threats we face today, such as work deadlines, social pressures, or the lack of a timely email response, are far less immediately dangerous than a saber-toothed tiger, our minds treat them with the same urgency. The result? We find ourselves living in a constant state of low-level panic, hyper-vigilant, and constantly anticipating danger, even when there's no real threat. Our nervous systems are hijacked by imaginary catastrophes, and we become trapped in cycles of worry, self-doubt, and rumination. This mechanism, which evolved to protect us, now locks us in a mental prison, where we are held hostage by our own protective systems. The very mind that once ensured our safety now torments us with thoughts and worries that feel just as real and threatening as physical danger. Let's take a deeper look at how these patterns of negative thinking often unfold, building a mental architecture of suffering. The catastrophic spiral. It starts with a single negative thought. A minor worry, like failing one test, can quickly spiral out of control. Suddenly, that small setback expands into a series of imagined misfortunes. You worry about failing the test, which leads to failing the class, then not graduating, then being unable to find a job, followed by unemployment, and eventually homelessness. What began as a simple, isolated thought snowballs into a massive, life-altering disaster scenario that seems both imminent and inevitable. The more you entertain these thoughts, the more convincing they become. What was once a fleeting worry has now evolved into a full-blown catastrophe in your mind. This is the power of catastrophic thinking, a mechanism designed to alert us to potential dangers, but which, when left unchecked, becomes distorted and exaggerated. What we fail to realize in these moments is that most of these imagined outcomes are highly unlikely, yet they feel overwhelmingly real. The mind's ability to predict the worst-case scenario keeps us on high alert, even in situations that don't warrant it. The time machine torture. The mind, in its quest for safety, also has a tendency to become unstuck in time. Instead of staying present, it drifts backward to past regrets or forward to imagined futures, often in a constant ping-pong between the two. You might replay embarrassing moments from years ago, experiencing them again with fresh waves of shame and regret, as if they were happening right now. These moments, which have long passed, become torture chambers for the mind, bringing with them all the negative emotions you felt at the time. At the same time, the mind projects these feelings into the future, creating worst-case scenarios where the past mistakes are replayed on a larger stage. You may imagine everyone remembering your embarrassing moment or worse, judging you for it in the future. The past becomes a source of self-blame, and the future becomes a source of anxiety and fear. This time machine effect keeps you locked in a cycle of emotional torment, where neither past nor future is safe from scrutiny or judgment, the inner critic's monologue. Perhaps one of the most pervasive elements of mental suffering is the voice in your head that constantly criticizes, judges, and condemns. This voice often sounds suspiciously like someone from your past, the critical teacher, the harsh parent, or a peer who belittled you. No matter what you do, this inner critic is relentless, offering a constant stream of commentary on your mistakes, inadequacies, and failures, both real and imagined. This inner monologue often becomes the loudest voice you hear, drowning out any positive affirmations or realistic self-assessments. It magnifies your flaws and diminishes your strengths, making you feel unworthy, inadequate, or incapable of success. The more you listen to this voice, the more entrenched its narrative becomes. Eventually, the critic becomes so internalized that you can't separate it from your own thoughts, and it begins to define your self-worth. The comparison trap in today's age of social media. The comparison trap is more insidious than ever. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok provide a constant stream of curated highlight reels from others, showcasing their happiest moments, achievements, and perfect appearances. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparing these idealized versions of others' lives to your own behind-the-scenes struggles. Everyone else seems to be living a better, more exciting, and more successful life. This comparison creates a sense of inadequacy as you measure your own worth against the carefully constructed personas of others. You feel like you're falling behind, like you're the only one not living up to some impossible standard. The problem is, this is not an accurate representation of reality. What you see on social media is often a distorted version of life, where the highs are exaggerated and the lows are hidden. Yet the mind is quick to absorb these images as truths, reinforcing the belief that everyone else is more deserving or capable than you. The hidden gift in mental chaos. Here lies the gateway to transformation. What if the tormenting thoughts that plague you aren't your enemy, but rather your teacher? What if the very intensity of your mental suffering mirrors your potential for a deeper, more profound peace and joy than you've ever imagined? Pause and consider this. Only a mind with extraordinary imagination, with a profound depth of sensitivity, with the capacity to feel so intensely, could conjure such elaborate, vivid scenarios of doom and despair. But what if this same creative force, this boundless well of imagination, is capable of constructing your most beautiful, empowering dreams too? The same sensitivity that makes you vulnerable to pain and sorrow also makes you uniquely capable of extraordinary empathy, understanding, and connection with others. Your negative thoughts, those fleeting clouds of doubt, fear, and anxiety, are like storm clouds in the vast sky of your consciousness. Dark, turbulent, and seemingly endless at times, but they are in essence just temporary weather patterns passing through. They are not your identity. They are simply what is happening in your mental landscape at this moment. You are not defined by these thoughts, but instead, you are the vast sky in which they arise. The more you can accept and observe them, the more you tap into the underlying stillness, the profound peace that exists beneath the chaos. The chaos, in fact, is the seed of clarity. Just as the dark clouds give way to the brightest blue skies after the storm, you have the power to transform your inner world by reframing your perspective on mental turmoil. With each storm that passes, you gain a little more peace, a little more clarity. The darkness doesn't last forever. The light always returns, and with it, a deeper understanding of who you truly are and the limitless potential within you. If this message resonates with you, and you're seeking more moments of peace and insight, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for daily reflections rooted in ancient wisdom and modern clarity. The transformation process. Step 1. Recognition without resistance. The journey of transformation begins not with a forceful push to change, but with radical self-compassion. This step is about meeting yourself exactly where you are, without shame or self-criticism. When you catch yourself in negative thought patterns, whether it's fear, guilt, anxiety, or self-doubt, resist the urge to add an additional layer of judgment. Instead of saying, "I shouldn't be thinking this way," try replacing that thought with gentle curiosity. Isn't it interesting that my mind is creating this story right now? This shift in approach allows you to begin seeing your thoughts not as adversaries to fight against, but as observations to examine. By adopting curiosity rather than resistance, you're able to give yourself the grace to simply experience your thoughts without getting swept away in them. This is the first step toward freedom, not to avoid negative thoughts, but to witness them with openness. When you notice a thought or feeling, check in with your body. Anxiety, for example, might create a sensation of tightness in your chest or a fluttering in your stomach. Where in your body do you hold that unease? And when shame surfaces, does it feel like a heavy weight on your shoulders? Notice how these emotions manifest physically, without judgment. This is not the time to analyze or fix anything, but to become familiar with your emotional terrain. The practice of observing without attempting to change anything will lay the foundation for future steps in your transformation. Over time, this simple act of mindful recognition will help you build a deeper relationship with yourself, cultivating a sense of ease, compassion, and non-attachment to your thoughts. Step 2. Questioning the story. The next step is to examine the stories your mind tells you. We all carry internal narratives that influence how we see ourselves and the world around us. Often we react to our thoughts as though they're factual truths, without pausing to question their validity. But Byron Katie's transformative method for questioning your thoughts can help break this illusion and create profound change. The process involves 4 simple yet life-altering questions. Is this thought true? At first glance, the thought may feel overwhelmingly real, but is it truly true? When we pause to examine the thought critically, we may realize it's an exaggeration, a distortion, or even a fabrication of our minds. For example, the thought "I'm a failure" feels true in the moment, but is it an absolute truth? Have you truly failed in every way, in every area of life? This question invites you to challenge the rigid belief systems your mind has constructed. Can I absolutely know that it's true, even if the thought feels true? Can you say with absolute certainty that it is? This question introduces doubt into the certainty of the thought, allowing room for alternative perspectives. We often take our thoughts as fact, but this question forces us to pause and realize that we can't know the absolute truth of any thought. Take the thought, "I'll never be good enough." Can you truly know that to be the case in every situation, for every person, in every moment of time? This question opens the door to possibilities and shifts your perspective. How do I react when I believe this thought? This question invites you to explore the impact of your beliefs on your emotional state, your behavior, and your relationships. Do you feel defeated, helpless, or angry when you believe this thought? How does it affect your actions? You might notice that believing negative thoughts like "I'm worthless" or "I'm not capable" causes you to retreat, avoid, or act out in ways that reinforce the very belief you're holding. Recognizing how you react is the first step toward freeing yourself from the power these thoughts have over you. Who would I be without this thought? The final question invites you to explore the possibility of life without the limiting belief. Imagine how your actions, emotions, and relationships would change if you didn't carry that thought with you. Who are you beneath the story you've been telling yourself? The freedom that comes from this question is profound. Without the thought "I'm not good enough," you might step into your full potential, take more risks, and experience a deeper sense of inner peace. This question provides the possibility of freedom and invites you to reclaim your true self. Beyond the stories you've believed, the simple act of questioning the truth of our thoughts can break the chains of our mental suffering. So much of our pain comes from believing thoughts that aren't actually true. We treat our mental storytelling as if it's factual reporting, when in reality it's more akin to paranoid fiction or an exaggerated interpretation of reality. By questioning and dissecting these thoughts, we begin to dissolve them, allowing more space for truth, clarity, and peace. Step 3. Finding the gift in the shadow. Every negative thought pattern, no matter how persistent or painful, contains a hidden gift, if we are willing to look deeply enough. Often we mistake our most challenging thoughts for obstacles, but they are often pointing us to something deeper within ourselves. The key is learning to decode these patterns with compassion and curiosity. Take perfectionism, for example. On the surface, perfectionism may feel like an enemy, an oppressive force that creates stress and anxiety. But if we look more closely, we might discover that this drive for perfection is rooted in a deep love of beauty, excellence, and a desire to contribute meaningfully to the world. Perfectionism may stem from a longing to make the world a better place, to create something worthy of admiration and respect. Instead of rejecting perfectionism outright, try asking yourself, what part of me is seeking excellence? What part of me wants to give my best to the world? Similarly, anxiety about relationships can often feel like a source of distress, but it can also reveal how deeply you value connection, love, and companionship. Instead of avoiding or fearing this anxiety, see it as a sign of your genuine desire for intimacy and meaningful bonds. Even self-criticism, which may initially feel harmful or discouraging, can stem from a deep desire to grow, improve, and become the best version of yourself. When we look closely, we can see that these negative thought patterns aren't enemies, but rather messengers pointing us toward our deeper needs, desires, and values. The negative thoughts we experience are the psyche's way of communicating our longings for growth, connection, and transformation. By seeing them as clues rather than problems, we can uncover the gift hidden within the shadow. Step 4. Expanding identity beyond thought. Perhaps the most profound shift in this entire process is the realization that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness in which thoughts arise. Your thoughts, whether they are positive, negative, or neutral, are temporary fluctuations in the vast sky of your consciousness. Just as clouds pass through the sky, your thoughts move through your awareness, but the sky itself, your essential nature, remains constant, still, and unchanging. This realization isn't merely a philosophical concept. It is a lived experience that you can access at any moment. Through practices like meditation, mindfulness, or simply being present in the moment, you can begin to experience the spaciousness of your awareness. In these moments of presence, you touch the reality of who you truly are, not the stories, judgments, or beliefs that your mind generates, but the stillness that exists beyond them. This awareness is your true self, the unshakable, timeless essence that has always been here and will always be here. When you realize that you are the awareness in which thoughts, emotions, and experiences arise, you stop identifying with the passing clouds of thought. You realize that you are not at the mercy of your mental chatter. You are the peaceful, expansive sky that holds it all with equanimity. As you anchor into this awareness, you begin to experience a profound shift in how you relate to yourself and the world. No longer trapped in the ups and downs of your thoughts, you step into a state of deep peace, freedom, and joy. In this space, transformation happens naturally. Thoughts come and go, but the essence of who you are remains grounded in the stillness of awareness. The daily practice of mental freedom. Morning intention setting. Instead of immediately checking your phone and flooding your mind with external stimuli, spend 5 minutes setting an intention for how you want to relate to your thoughts that day. The stop technique. When you notice negative spiraling, stop, breathe, observe the thoughts without judgment, and proceed with conscious choice rather than unconscious reaction. Evening reflection. Before bed, review the day not from the perspective of what went wrong, but from curiosity about your mental patterns. What triggered negative thinking? How did you respond? What did you learn about yourself? The gratitude hack. Your mind can't simultaneously hold appreciation and anxiety. When caught in negative loops, actively look for 3 things you're genuinely grateful for in that moment. Beyond individual healing, as you transform your relationship with negative thoughts, something profoundly beautiful begins to unfold. You stop projecting your inner turmoil onto the world around you. Instead of carrying the weight of your unresolved emotions and thoughts, you begin to approach the world with greater clarity and peace. No longer are you subconsciously adding to the collective anxiety or stress of those around you. Your inner transformation creates a ripple effect, extending outwards to touch your relationships, your work, and your overall contribution to the world. When you begin to heal internally, you move from being a reactor to becoming a creator of your own reality. Your thoughts, once dominated by fear, judgment, and self-doubt, shift toward understanding, empathy, and a deeper sense of presence. This inner peace naturally flows outward, influencing how you interact with others. You find yourself becoming a calming presence, a steady force that offers support, patience, and understanding. Where there was once tension and negativity, there is now a more grounded and compassionate energy. The shift in how you relate to yourself creates profound shifts in how you relate to the world. When you no longer carry the burden of self-criticism or the constant weight of negative thought patterns, you begin to see the world through a clearer, more compassionate lens. Your interactions become less reactive and more reflective of the peace you've cultivated within. Whether in your personal relationships, at work, or in your wider community, you naturally begin to contribute more positively, sharing the peace you've cultivated, rather than perpetuating the fear or anxiety you once felt. As this transformation unfolds, you realize that your mental struggles were not personal failures, but rather universal human experiences. Everyone, regardless of their circumstances or achievements, grapples with their own inner critics. Everyone faces moments of fear, self-doubt, and uncertainty. Recognizing this shared humanity shifts your perspective, making it easier to be kind and understanding, both toward yourself and others. This recognition breeds profound compassion. You come to understand that you're not alone in your struggles, and that others are facing their own battles, often silently. The mental landscape that once felt isolating and overwhelming now becomes a shared space of human experience. With this understanding, your compassion deepens, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, who are navigating their own complex emotional journeys. By healing your own relationship with negative thoughts, you contribute to a larger shift in consciousness, one that moves away from judgment and separation toward empathy, understanding, and collective healing. Your transformation becomes not just a personal victory, but a gift to the world around you. You become a living example that healing is possible and that peace can be cultivated, even in the face of challenging inner landscapes. This expansion of self-compassion and understanding beyond your own struggles allows you to contribute more authentically and powerfully to the collective well-being. Your presence becomes a beacon of hope, reminding others that the healing of one person can positively impact the many. And in this way, your inner transformation extends far beyond yourself, creating a ripple effect that reaches into every corner of your life and the lives of those you touch. The invitation. Your negative thoughts aren't obstacles to overcome, but invitations to come home to yourself. They're pointing you toward the parts of your psyche that need attention, love, and integration. They're showing you exactly where your freedom lies. The 3 a.m. mental horror shows will likely continue occasionally. This is part of being human. But instead of being the terrified audience member, you can become the wise observer who knows that even the scariest movie will eventually end. The lights will come on, and you'll walk out into the fresh air of reality. Your mind's capacity for creative catastrophizing is actually evidence of its incredible power. The same imagination that creates your worst fears can create your most inspiring visions. The same sensitivity that makes you vulnerable to pain makes you capable of extraordinary beauty and connection. The invitation is simple but profound. Stop fighting your thoughts and start befriending them. Stop trying to fix your mind and start appreciating its creative complexity. Stop seeing your mental struggles as evidence of your inadequacy and start recognizing them as doorways to deeper self-understanding. In this shift from resistance to acceptance, from fighting to befriending, from fixing to understanding, lies the path from mental prison to inner peace. Your thoughts will still come and go like weather, but you'll have remembered that you are not the weather. You are the vast, peaceful sky in which all weather appears and dissolves, and in that remembering, you find the peace that was never actually lost. It was just temporarily obscured by the very thoughts that were trying, in their clumsy way, to protect and serve you all along.